That created panic in the leadership of the administration. The Politburo held a meeting on the 9th of November 1989. And on that meeting they decided they would open the Berlin Wall on the 10th of November 1989. The announcement was made on the radio and on the television that they would open the wall that night. Therefore they hadn't informed the border guards to open the wall, and people gathered at the Berlin Wall at Bornholmer Straße to test the regulation as it was announced. Eventually, after a little bit of pressure, the border guards opened the border on the 11:30 on the 9th of November 1989, not only in Bornholmer Straße but all over East Germany, between the borders between East and West. And East Germans could travel to West Berlin for the first time freely in 28 years. That was considered to be an enormous achievement from the protesters. People went across to West Berlin, they were given drinks by people, they were invited into people's homes, they talked to them, drank with them, gave them a little bit of money so they could spend some money, because East German money was a rate of 1 to 20, so you couldn't really spend anything, you couldn't really afford to buy anything in West Berlin. Shortly after the Berlin Wall was opened, the mood began to change. People went to West Berlin for the first time. When they went to West Berlin for the first time, there's one type of shop that everybody went to, something they couldn't see in East Berlin, and they wanted to see what it was like, what it was. And then when they went to West Berlin, they went to go and look at these things. And it's one type of shop, and it's a reflection on our Western culture to guess correctly what type of shop it is. Huh?
Sex shop.
Sex shop. Who are these people? Who brought them along? Yes, it was a sex shop. Yes, it was a sex shop. They went to the sex shop, and when they went to the sex shop, so they were going, look at that, see that? Look at that one there, look at that one there. That's what this young lady told me, and her husband as well. Yeah, they told me that. I've never been in one, I don't know about that. I'm a strictly Catholic man. Anyway, that's true. And then the movement began to divide. After that, the demonstrations took place every Monday night. Half the population of every city and town would demonstrate around the town, and they'd hold a rally, they could speak, they could express themselves. But there was a big task. Do you want to change East Germany? It means transforming a society and creating something completely new. A lot of people wanted to do that. At the beginning, about 85% of the population wanted to do that. But come the mid of December, winter was encroaching, people were demonstrating. People began to hear the idea circulating, why don't we unify with West Germany? Chancellor Kohl, the leader of West Germany, he suddenly said, we can have a 10-point plan for German unification. And in this plan, within 10 or 15 years, we'll have a united country, a confederation, two linked together countries. However, the demonstrations continued, and the four powers that ruled over Germany, Russia or the Soviet Union, America, Britain and France, they were very, very scared by this. They didn't like the idea that Germany might reunify, nor did they like the idea of the protests on the streets the way they were taking place. And so they began to go into panic. Margaret Thatcher was very explicit about it. She said if Germany reunites, there'll be chaos in Europe. It'll upset the whole balance of power in the world. She was completely opposed to German unification. George Bush Sr., he was in charge of the United States. He phoned up Mikhail Gorbachev and he said, this is in January 1990, he phoned up Gorbachev and he said, believe you me, you and I have exactly the same opinion on this question. I do not want Germany to become unified. Francois Mitterrand was categorically against German unification. But what happened then was the secret police headquarters in East Berlin was stormed. This is my secret police file here. You have a card, basically, it's the index card of your secret police record. So it's got my name, occupation, it says here, worker. Why wasn't I intellectual? They call me a worker. I'll sue them one day for that. Anyway, and then they gave you your file, and your file says basically what they had on you. In my case, it says that military intelligence were watching over me because I was a foreigner, and they watched over myself and people engaged around with me. But it doesn't actually say what records they had because they say they destroyed the records. There's a new computer program, though, to link together the pieces of paper that were torn apart. I'm going to need one of them for this one in a few weeks, aren't I, by the look of it? I've got a copy, don't worry. Anyway, when the secret police headquarters was stormed, it was felt that that's sort of the end of the situation. Something has to be done to stop it. Margaret Thatcher said send in the United Nations troops to control the situation in East Germany and then call elections. As it was, the elections were called forward. Chancellor Kohl played the buff of all the leaders of the Western world, and he thought, this is my historic opportunity to mark myself down in history as the Chancellor of Unification. So what he did was, his political party, the Christian Democratic Party, invested a lot of money into East Germany to turn the communist Christian Democratic Party into a capitalist Christian Democratic Party. It changed in the month January 1990 from a communist party, the last communist party, by the way. The Communist Party had abandoned Stalinism in December, but the Christian Democrats only did really in January 1990. The Liberal Democrats made an alliance with the Western Liberal Democrats, and they had money put behind them. In East Germany, you wanted to produce a leaflet, you did it like that with your hand. But in the West, you could produce it on mass machinery. And therefore what happened was the Western political parties took over 3 East German political parties, the Social Democrats, the Christian Democrats, and the Liberal Democrats. They called an election, and the Christian Democrats and Social Democrats won. The Christian Democrats won, the majority was the Christian Democrats. The Christian Democrats then called for immediate unification, which meant on the 1st of July, the Western banks would take over all the money of East Germany and replace it with West German money at a rate of 1-to-1 below 4,000 marks, 1-to-2 above 4,000 marks. So the banks took control of East Germany on the 1st of July 1990. On the 3rd of October 1990, you see those shelves over there with the coloured books? If you imagine all the rules and regulations of West German society, administrative, political, economic, social, cultural, all the rules and regulations of the administration of West German society developed over 50 years, or some 40 years, would be incorporated in those books. All those books were agreed to overnight in one single parliamentary session in East Berlin. Without ever having read them, they voted in favour of adopting all the laws and all the regulations of West Germany overnight on the 3rd of October 1990. The man in charge of the East German Parliament at the time was the elected representative by the name of Lothar de Maizière. He was a Christian Democrat. Lothar de Maizière turned out later to have been a secret police agent of the East German secret police. They handed over power to West Germany on the 3rd of October 1990. What did this mean? It meant that all the laws of West Germany applied to the East, and all the property in East Germany was handed over to the West. 85% of all the property in East Germany belongs to West Germans, 10% belongs to foreigners, 5% belongs to East Germans. That is the primary reason for the discontent between the East and the West, because the East Germans felt they were tricked. Their revolution started and then they were tricked out of everything that they had. And so they felt that there was a con job done on them. They were then made unemployed, millions were made unemployed, and West Germany began to invest money in East Germany, but they already owned the property in East Germany. So they're investing money in their own property, if you like. And that might not be the best ending I could give you, but it's actually what happened.